My chosen one, pause for a moment and listen carefully, because what you are about to hear is not ordinary. This is not just another message you scroll past. This is a divine interruption, one that was placed directly in your path by Archangel Michael himself. And if your heart feels even the slightest pull right now, it is because your spirit already recognizes the urgency. Something is coming. Not later. Not someday. It is already forming around you, quietly, invisibly, like dark clouds gathering before a storm no one else seems to notice. Archangel Michael is pleading with you at this very moment. Not whisper, not suggesting pleading. Do you understand how rare that is? There are countless souls in this world, yet this message found you. That is not coincidence. That is alignment. That is divine timing stepping in before it is too late. Because the truth is, the storm approaching your life is not small, and it is not something you can simply ignore and hope will pass. If left unchecked, it has the power to shake everything you thought was stable: your peace, your direction, even your sense of self. You may have already felt it, haven't you? That strained tension in your chest, the unexplainable restlessness, the sudden shifts in your environment or relationships. Things that once felt certain now feel fragile. And deep down, there's a quiet voice that has been trying to warn you, but you've been too distracted, too busy, or perhaps too uncertain to fully listen. That voice, it is not your imagination. It is guidance. It is protection trying to reach you before the storm fully breaks. This is your final window of awareness before everything intensifies. And no, this is not meant to scare you. It is meant to wake you. Because once the storm reaches its peak, clarity becomes harder to find. Decisions become right. Emotions become overwhelming. And the very thing that could have been prevented becomes something you must endure. Archangel Michael stands as a protector, a warrior of light, but even he cannot intervene fully unless you become aware and make a conscious choice. That is why this moment matters so deeply. You are not being left alone. You are being called to open your eyes, called to recognize what is forming, called to act before the window closes. There is something specific, something critical, that you must see. A truth that hath been hidden in plain sight. And until you see it clearly, the storm will continue to build strength. But once you do, once you truly understand what is happening and why everything can change, so don't scroll away. Don't dismiss this as coincidence. You are here because you were meant to hear this now, not later. Because later may be too late. Something inside you already knows this is real. That quiet discomfort you have been carrying is not random, and it is not without purpose. There have been signs, clear, deliberate signals placed along your path, but you have been brushing them aside, telling yourself they are coincidences or temporary phases. Archangel Michael is revealing now that these were not accidents. They were warnings, gentle at first, but growing stronger as time passed. Think back to the moments when your peace was suddenly interrupted without explanation. One day everything felt normal, and the next, there was tension you could not name. Conversations that once flowed easily began to feel forced or strained. You may have noticed people around you behaving differently, almost as if something shifted beneath the surface. These are not isolated incidents. They are indicators that something deeper has been unfolding behind the scenes. There have also been patterns repeating in your life, patterns you hoped were over. Situations you thought you had outgrown somehow found their way back to you, wearing a different face but carrying the same energy. This repetition is not punishment. It is a signal that something has not been fully addressed, something that continues to leave a door open for this storm to grow stronger. Archangel Michael is showing you that what repeats is what demands your attention. And what about your intuition? That inner voice that spoke clearly at first, nudging you in certain directions, warning you about specific choices or people. There were moments you felt strongly that something was not right, yet you chose to silence that feeling. Maybe you doubted yourself. Maybe you didn't want to confront what it meant. But every time that voice was ignored, the storm gained momentum. Not because you were wrong, but because you delayed what needed to be seen. Even your energy has been shifting. You may feel more drained than usual, even when you have done nothing physically exhausting. There may be a heaviness that comes and goes, a sense that something is weighing on you without a clear source. This is not just stress. This is the spiritual atmosphere around you changing, responding to forces you cannot see but can absolutely feel. Archangel Michael is making it clear that your sensitivity is not weakness. It is awareness trying to rise. Look at your environment closely. Have there been disruptions, unexpected obstacles, or delays that make no logical sense? Plans falling apart at the last moment, miscommunications that create unnecessary conflict, or opportunities slipping through your hands just as you reach for them. These are not simply bad luck. They are part of a larger pattern, one that is pointing directly to the storm that is forming. What makes this moment so critical is that the signs have reached their peak. They are no longer subtle. They are no longer easy to dismiss. You are being shown, repeatedly, that something is not aligned. And the longer this misalignment continues, the stronger the storm becomes. Archangel Michael is not revealing this to overwhelm you, but to bring clarity before it is too late to act. You are not powerless in this. That is the truth you must hold on to. But you can't change what you refuse to see. Awareness is the first step, and right now, you are standing at the edge of it. Everything you have experienced recently has been leading to this realization. The question is no longer whether the signs are real. The question is whether you are ready to finally acknowledge them and understand what they are trying to show you. Because what you uncover next will explain everything. The reason this storm was allowed to form in the first place. There is a question echoing deep within your spirit right now. Whether you have spoken it aloud or not, why is this happening to me? And in this moment, Archangel Michael steps forward, not with judgment, but with truth. Because the storm that is forming around you was not sent to destroy you without reason. It was allowed. There is a difference. And understanding that difference will change everything for you. This storm did not appear overnight. It hath been building layer by layer, choice by choice, moment by moment. Not because you are being punished, but because there were paths presented to you that were meant to guide you in a different direction, and somehow, somewhere, those paths were overlooked. Archangel Michael is revealing that divine guidance has been present all along, quietly redirecting you, gently warning you, but free will always remained in your hands. There were moments when you felt a strong pull to walk away from something, but you stayed. Moments when you sensed something was not right, but you chose to trust what you could see instead of what you could feel. And slowly, without realizing it, you began to move out of alignment with the protection that was surrounding you. Not complete, but just enough for the storm to begin forming at a distance. Understand this clearly. God does not send chaos without purpose. When a storm is allowed, it is because something deeper needs to be corrected, something that cannot be ignored any longer. Sometimes it is a relationship that hath been draining your spirit. Sometimes it is a decision that was made from fear instead of truth. Sometimes it is a pattern that has followed you for years, waiting to be broken. And until it is faced directly, the storm becomes the language through which the message is delivered. Archangel Michael wants you to see that this is not about blame. It is about awareness. Because once you become aware, you regain your power. The storm is not here to prove your weakness. It is here to reveal where your strength has been misdirected. Every delay, every repeated situation, every uneasy feeling you pushed aside, they were all pieces of a larger picture trying to come together. There is also something else you must understand. When you ignore divine nudges for too long, the message does not disappear, it intensifies. What begins as a whisper becomes a disruption. What begins as a feeling becomes a situation. And what begins as a situation can become a storm. Not because you are abandoned, but because you are being called back into alignment in a way that cannot be ignored. You may feel regret as this truth settles in. You may think about the moments you wish you had acted differently. But Archangel Michael is clear. This is not the time for guilt. Guilt keeps you stuck. Awareness moves you forward. You are being shown this now because there is still time to respond. There is still time to shift what is coming. But that time is limited, and that is why this message carries such urgency. The storm was allowed so you would finally see what has been hidden beneath distraction, comfort, or fear. It was allowed so you would no longer settle for what is misaligned with your purpose. It was allowed so that you could rise into a higher level of clarity, even if the process feels uncomfortable. Because growth that avoids discomfort often avoids truth. Right now, you are standing at a turning point. Not at the end, but at a moment where everything can still change. The storm is not fully broken yet. It is close, but it has not reached its peak. And that means your response in this moment matters more than ever before. Type "I choose alignment" in the comments if you feel this message speaking directly to your spirit. Blessing code 369 is now activated over your path. And as this truth settles into your heart, understand this. When you respond to a message like this, you are not just listening, you are participating in something greater. This message is reaching souls across the world who are also standing at their own turning points, and your support helps this light continue to spread where darkness tries to grow. As this revelation touches your spirit, know that every act of giving becomes a seed planted in God's field, and through it, countless other souls receive the very warning that could save them. The Lord is speaking even now, saying, "Give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over." When you choose to support this mission through Super Thanks or PayPal, you are not giving to a channel. You are releasing light into places that desperately need it. I feel led to say this. I am answering the call to help this message reach those who are still asleep. This is your moment to act, not later, not when it feels convenient, but now, while the door is open. Every offering becomes oil in the lamp, keeping this divine fire burning for others who are searching for truth. And as you give, may protection, clarity, and divine favor overflow into your life. Step into this act of obedience and give through the PayPal link in the description or the QR code before you move on. There is something you must begin to understand now, something that may feel uncomfortable at first, but it carries a truth that can no longer be ignored. Not everything around you is as it appears. The atmosphere surrounding your life has shifted, and while your physical eyes may not fully detect it, your spirit has already been sensing the change. That uneasy feeling, the subtle tension in certain spaces or around certain people, it is not without reason. Archangel Michael is revealing that energy is constantly moving, constantly responding to intention, emotion, and unseen spiritual forces. And right now, the energy around you is not in complete harmony. There are imbalances, disruptions, and influences that have quietly entered your space, influencing your thoughts, your emotions, and even your decisions in ways you may not have realized. Have you noticed how certain interactions leave you feeling drained, even when nothing significant was said? Or how being around specific individuals suddenly shifts your mood, making you feel uncertain, anxious, or heavy without a clear explanation? These are not just emotional reactions. These are energetic exchanges. And not all energy that comes into your life is meant to uplift you. There are people who carry unresolved darkness within them, jealousy, resentment, hidden intentions, and even if they do not express it openly, it can still affect you. Energy does not always need words to be transferred. It moves silently, influencing the atmosphere around it. Archangel Michael wants you to become aware of this, not to make you fearful of others, but to sharpen your discernment. Because when you lack awareness, you become vulnerable to what you cannot see. This does not mean everyone around you is working against you, but it does mean that not everyone is aligned with your growth. Some individuals may unintentionally pull you backward simply because they are not walking the same path as you. Others may be more aware of their actions, masking their intentions behind smiles or familiar behavior. And if your intuition has been sending you signals about certain people, now is the time to take those signals seriously. Beyond people, there are also environments that carry energy. Spaces where conflict has occurred, where negativity has been present, or where your spirit simply does not feel at peace. You may have entered certain places and immediately felt uncomfortable without knowing why. That is not imagination. That is your awareness picking up on what your eyes cannot see. Archangel Michael is showing you that the storm approaching your life is not forming in isolation. It is being influenced by everything around you. Your environment, your connections, your internal state. And if these elements are not aligned, they can amplify the storm's intensity. This is why awareness at this stage is so critical. Because once you begin to recognize what is affecting you, you can begin to reclaim control over your space. There is also a deeper layer to this. When your energy becomes vulnerable, through stress, doubt, or emotional exhaustion, you become more open to external influences. It becomes easier for negativity to attach itself, to linger longer than it should, and to cloud your clarity. This is not weakness. It is a natural response to imbalance. But it is also something that must be corrected before the storm fully arrives. You may now begin to see why certain things have felt off recently, why situations have escalated quickly, why misunderstandings have grown larger than they should, why your peace has been harder to maintain. These are not isolated incidents. They are all connected to the energy surrounding you. But here's the truth that Archangel Michael wants you to hold on to. You are not trapped in this. You are not powerless against these influences. Awareness is your first shield. Discernment is your second. And action will be what ultimately shifts everything. The storm feeds on confusion, on distraction, on your inability to recognize what is truly happening. With the moment you begin to see clearly, the storm begins to lose its grip. That is why this message is reaching you now. So you can no longer say you didn't know. Take a moment and reflect honestly. Who or what in your life has been disrupting your peace? Where have you felt that quiet warning but chose to ignore it? What environments leave you feeling unsettled instead of strengthened? These answers are not meant to overwhelm you. They are meant to guide you. Because what you are about to uncover next goes even deeper. There was a specific moment, a single decision, that shifted everything. A moment that opened the door wider than you realized. And once you see it clearly, you will understand exactly how this storm gained its power. There is a moment in your life that you have overlooked, a decision that may have seemed small at the time, but it carried more weight than you realized. Archangel Michael is bringing your attention directly to it now, because this was not just any choice, it was a turning point. The kind that quietly shifts your direction without immediate consequence, but over time begins to reshape everything around you. You may not have recognized it as significant when it happened. It may have felt like something you had to do, something that made sense in that moment, or something you convinced yourself was harmless. But deep within, there was a pause, a hesitation, a subtle feeling that asked you to reconsider. And in that brief moment, your spirit was trying to guide you. That was the point where everything could have gone differently. Think carefully. It could have been a decision to trust someone your intuition warned you about. A choice to stay in a situation that no longer felt right. A moment where you ignored a clear inner nudge because logic or emotion took over. These are the kinds of decisions that do not seem dangerous on the surface, but they create openings that allow misalignment to enter your life slowly, quietly, and persistently. Archangel Michael is not revealing this to make you feel regret, but to help you see how powerful your choices truly are. Because every decision carries energy. It sets a direction, and once that direction is set, everything begins to align with it. The storm you are facing did not begin with chaos. It began with alignment in the wrong direction. And once that alignment was established, the conditions for the storm started forming naturally. What makes this even more important is that after that initial decision, there were smaller confirmations along the way. Moments where you felt something was not right, yet you continued forward anyway. Not because you intended harm to yourself, but because it felt easier than confronting the truth. And this is how the storm gains strength, not through one single act, but through repeated moments of avoidance. You may now feel a sense of clarity beginning to form. That realization that something you once dismissed is now standing at the center of everything you are experiencing. This is the awakening Archangel Michael has been trying to bring you into. Because once you identify the root, you are no longer dealing with confusion. You are dealing with truth. And truth, even when uncomfortable, is what sets you free. There is also something deeper within this. A decision was not just external, it was internal. It reflected a belief, a fear, or a desire that influenced your choice. Perhaps it was fear of losing something, fear of being alone, or even fear of stepping into something greater that required courage. These internal states shape our external actions more than we realize, and until they are acknowledged, they continue to guide us without our awareness. Archangel Michael is asking you now to face this moment with honesty, not judgment. Because judgment will keep you stuck in the past, but honesty will bring you into the present where change is still possible. You are not the same person you were when that decision was made. You have grown. You have seen more. And now, you are being given the chance to correct the path before the storm reaches its full force. Understand this clearly. Recognizing the decision is the first step, but it is not the final step. What matters now is what you do with that awareness. Because the same power that allowed that decision to shape your path is still within you. You have the ability to choose again, to realign, to close the door that was once opened. The storm is not unstoppable. It feels that way only when you remain unaware of its origin. But now, that origin is becoming clear. And with clarity comes responsibility. The responsibility to act differently than before. This is where many people hesitate. They see the truth, but they delay action. They wait for the right time, for a sign, for confirmation. But Archangel Michael is making something very clear. Time is not as abundant as it once felt. The longer you wait, the stronger the storm becomes. and hesitation only gives it more space to grow. You are not being asked to be perfect. You are being asked to be aware and willing. Willing to acknowledge what happened. Willing to accept your role in it. And most importantly, willing to make a different choice now. Because what is coming next is not just a warning. It is a direct message about time itself. And once you hear it, you will understand why this moment cannot be delayed any longer. Listen closely, because this is where the message becomes sharper, more urgent, and impossible to delay. Archangel Michael is not speaking in symbols now. He is speaking with clarity. Time is not on your side the way you think it is. The space you once had to ignore, to wait, to postpone decisions, that space is closing. You may still feel like there is room to figure things out slowly, to come back to this later when life feels more stable. But that belief is exactly what keeps many people trapped when the storm finally breaks. The truth is, the storm has already moved closer than you realize. It is no longer forming at a distance. It is approaching the point where it will begin to affect your reality in undeniable ways. There is a spiritual law at work here. When something is ignored repeatedly, it does not fade away. It gains momentum. Every moment of hesitation adds weight to what is already building. And now, you have reached a point where delay is no longer neutral. Delay is a decision in itself. And that decision allows the storm to strengthen. Archangel Michael is not bringing this message to rush you into fear, but to pull you out of complacency. Because there is a difference between moving with peace and remaining still out of avoidance. Right now, you are being asked to move. Not recklessly, not blindly, but intentionally and immediately. The longer you wait, the fewer options remain available to you. Think about everything you have already felt, everything you have noticed, everything that has been revealed to you up to this moment. None of it was random. It has all been leading to this exact point in time, where awareness meets decision. And what you choose now will determine whether the storm continues to rise or begins to lose its power. There is also something deeper happening beneath the surface. The spiritual realm does not operate on human timelines. What feels like later to you may already be too late in terms of energy and alignment. A window that is open right now is not permanent. It is a moment of grace, a final opportunity to respond before consequences begin to unfold in ways that are harder to reverse. You may feel resistance as you hear this. A part of you may want to hold on to comfort, to familiarity, to what feels safe even if it is not right. That resistance is natural, but it is also dangerous if it keeps you from acting. Because comfort can sometimes be the very thing that blinds you to what is coming. Archangel Michael is standing in this moment as both protector and messenger. Protection is available to you, but it requires your participation. It requires you to step forward, to acknowledge what must be done, and to take action without delay. This is not about perfection. It is about willingness. The willingness to move when you are called, even if you do not have every answer yet. You may be wondering, what if I make the wrong move? But understand this. Remaining still when you are being called to act is the greater risk. Because stillness in this moment is not peace. It is avoidance. And avoidance is what allowed the storm to grow in the first place. There is an urgency in this message that cannot be softened. Not because you are in danger without hope, but because you are at the edge of a turning point. One step can shift everything. One decision can redirect the path you are on. But that step must be taken now, not later. Feel the weight of this moment, not as pressure, but as clarity. You are not being left in the dark. You are being shown exactly what you need to see, exactly when you need to see it. And that is a form of protection in itself. The storm is close, but it has not yet reached its full force. That is why this message matters. That is why your response matters. Because once it reaches its peak, the opportunity to prevent it becomes much smaller. So ask yourself honestly, what have you been delaying? What truth have you been avoiding? What action have you been postponing, even though you know deep down it needs to be taken? Archangel Michael is not asking you to wait for another sign. This is the sign. And what you are about to understand next will reveal something even deeper. The battle that has been taking place beyond what you can see. A battle that has been influencing every step of your journey without you even realizing it. There is something unfolding around you that your physical eyes cannot fully grasp. Yet your spirit hath been sensing it all along. This is not just about circumstances, decisions, or emotions. There is a deeper layer to everything you are experiencing. A spiritual battle that has been quietly taking place, influencing your path in ways you may not have realized until now. Archangel Michael stands at the center of this revelation, not as a distant figure, but as an active protector in your life. His presence has been there in moments when you felt unexpectedly shielded, when something that could have gone wrong somehow didn't, when a situation shifted at the last second without explanation. These were not coincidences. These were interventions, small glimpses of a larger battle being fought on your behalf. But here is the truth that must be understood. Protection does not mean complete removal of challenges. It means guidance, defense, and opportunity. The storm forming in your life is not separate from this battle. It is part of it. Because whenever there is movement toward growth, toward purpose, toward alignment with truth, there is also resistance. Not always visible, not always obvious, but very real. You may have noticed moments where you felt strong, clear, and ready to move forward, only to suddenly feel doubt, confusion, or fear without a clear reason. That shift is not always coming from within you. Sometimes, it is the result of opposing forces trying to disrupt your clarity, trying to keep you from stepping fully into the direction you are meant to take. This does not mean you are under constant attack, but it does mean that your life carries significance. And significance attracts both support and resistance. Archangel Michael's role is to stand with you, to guard you, to strengthen you, but there is something he cannot do without you. He cannot override your free will. That is why awareness is so important in this moment. Because once you understand that there is a spiritual dimension to what you are facing, your approach begins to change. You stop seeing everything as random or purely physical, and you begin to recognize the patterns, the shifts, the moments where something deeper is at work. There have been times when you felt pulled in two directions. One path felt right but uncertain, requiring courage. The other felt easier but carried a subtle sense of unease. That tension is not accidental. It is part of the battle. One path leads you toward alignment, growth, and protection. The other keeps you within the conditions that allow the storm to grow stronger. Archangel Michael is not forcing you onto one path or the other. Instead, he is illuminating the truth so you can choose with clarity. Because the power of your choice is what determines which influence becomes stronger in your life. There is also something important you must understand about fear. Fear is one of the most effective tools used to keep you from moving forward. Not always loud or overwhelming, but quiet and persistent. It shows up as doubt, hesitation, overthinking. It makes you question what you already know deep inside. And when fear is left unchecked, it creates stillness at the exact moment when movement is needed. But here is where your strength comes in. The moment you become aware of this, the moment you recognize that not every thought or feeling needs to be followed, you begin to reclaim your power. You begin to separate what is truly yours from what is being influenced. Archangel Michael's presence becomes stronger when you align with truth. When you choose clarity over confusion. When you act despite fear rather than because of it. Protection is not passive. It responds to your willingness to step forward. The storm you are facing is not just a challenge. It is a test of alignment within this larger battle. Will you move toward what you know is right, even if it feels difficult? Or will you remain where you are, allowing the storm to reach its full strength? This is not about perfection. It is about awareness and response. Because once you see the battle, you are no longer fighting blindly. You are choosing consciously. And now, as this truth settles into your spirit, the question becomes even more direct. What exactly must you do? What is the step that will shift everything, that will begin to weaken the storm instead of feeding it? That answer is closer than you think, and it is not complicated. But it will require something from you, something that cannot be delayed any longer. There comes a moment when all the signs, all the warnings, all the inner feelings finally point to one simple truth. You already know what you must do. It is not hidden. It is not complicated. It is not something far away waiting to be discovered. It has been within you this entire time, quietly waiting for you to stop doubting it and finally act on it. Archangel Michael is not asking you to search endlessly for answers. He is asking you to respond to the answer that has already been placed inside your spirit. That persistent thought you keep returning to, the decision you keep postponing, the truth you keep circling around, that is the step. And the reason it feels so heavy is because it carries the power to change everything. You may have been waiting for confirmation, for something external to validate what you feel internally. But this message is that confirmation. This is the moment where waiting must end. Because the longer you delay this step, the more you strengthen the very storm you are trying to avoid. The step you must take is not about doing everything at once. It is about doing the one thing that realigns you immediately. For some, it is walking away from a situation that had been draining their peace. For others, it is finally speaking a truth they have been holding back. And for many, it is making a firm decision that closes a door that should have been closed long ago. Archangel Michael is guiding you toward decisive action. Not partial movement, not hesitation, not almost. A clear, intentional step that signals you are no longer willing to remain in misalignment. Because alignment is not created through thought alone. It is created through action. There may be fear attached to this step. A fear of the unknown, fear of consequences, fear of change. That is natural. But understand this clearly. The fear you feel now is temporary. The consequences of not acting can be far more lasting. The storm feeds on hesitation. It grows stronger when you stay in places that no longer serve your purpose. You are being called to choose clarity over comfort, to choose truth over familiarity, and most importantly, to choose movement over delay. This is not about being reckless. It is about being obedient to what you already know is right. Take a moment and be honest with yourself. What is the one thing you keep thinking about but have not acted on? What decision have you been circling around, hoping it will resolve itself without your involvement? That is where your power lies. Not in avoiding it, but in facing it directly. Archangel Michael is standing with you in this moment, not to carry the step for you, but to strengthen you as you take it. His protection becomes active when you align your actions with truth. His guidance becomes clearer when you move instead of remaining still. There is also something important you must understand. This step does not have to be perfect. It does not have to solve everything immediately. It simply has to begin. Because once you take that first aligned action, everything else begins to shift around it. The storm does not disappear instantly, but it begins to lose its power over you. You are not being asked to control the entire outcome. You are being asked to control your response. And your response in this moment is what determines what happens next. Feel the urgency, not as pressure, but as clarity. This is the moment where everything you have felt, everything you have noticed, everything you have been shown comes together into one choice. A choice that cannot be postponed any longer. Type IACT now in the comments if you are ready to take this step. Blessing code 888 is now activated over your life. And as you prepare to act, understand this: your obedience in this moment does not just affect you. It creates a ripple that reaches others who are still searching for clarity. When you support this mission, you become part of that ripple, helping this message reach those who may be standing on the same edge you are standing on right now. As this call to action stirs your spirit, remember that every seed you sow becomes a river of truth flowing into lives that are still in darkness. The Lord declares, "Whoever sows generously will also reap generously," and this is not just a promise. It is a living exchange of light. I feel this deeply. I am stepping forward to help this message reach those who are about to face their own storm. When you give through Super Thanks or through the PayPal link in the description or QR code, you are not just supporting. You are activating a harvest of souls being awakened at the right time. This moment is prophetic, and your response carries eternal impact. Do not delay what your spirit is prompting you to do right now. Release your seed and let heaven multiply it back into your life with protection and favor. Here is a truth that must be faced now, not to frighten you, but to make everything unmistakably clear. Ignoring this message does not make the storm disappear. It does not weaken it. In fact, it does the opposite. When awareness is given and no action follows, the consequences become stronger, more direct, and far more difficult to navigate. Archangel Michael is not showing you this to create fear, but to remove illusion. Because one of the greatest dangers in moments like this is believing that things will somehow work out without any change. That belief may feel comforting, but it is not grounded in what is actually unfolding around you. The storm you have been warned about will not simply pass you by if you remain in the same position that allowed it to grow. At first, the impact may seem small. A few more disruptions, a few more moments of tension, a few more things not going as planned. You may still find ways to explain it, to justify it, to tell yourself it is temporary. But slowly, those small disruptions begin to connect. They begin to form patterns that are harder to ignore. What once felt manageable starts to feel overwhelming. Relationships may become strained beyond repair, not because they were meant to end this way, but because the underlying misalignment was never addressed. Opportunities may begin to close, not out of punishment, but because the path you are on no longer aligns with where you are meant to go. And perhaps most importantly, your inner peace, the very thing that grounds you, begins to slip further away. This is how the storm works. It does not always arrive with immediate chaos. It builds, it intensifies, and it reveals itself layer by layer until it reaches a point where it can no longer be ignored. And by that time, the effort required to restore balance becomes much greater than it would have been at this moment. There is also an emotional toll that comes with ignoring what you already know. A quiet frustration begins to grow within you. A sense that something is off, but you cannot fully correct it because the root was never addressed. This creates a cycle of confusion, where you keep trying to fix the surface while the foundation remains unchanged. Archangel Michael wants you to understand that this is not your destiny. It is a possible outcome, and it is one that can still be avoided, but only if you choose differently now. Because once the storm reaches its peak, your choices become reactions instead of intentional actions. You begin to respond to circumstances rather than shape them. You may also find that your clarity becomes clouded the longer you wait. What feels obvious now may become harder to see. It may grow stronger. Fear may become louder. And the very step that feels clear in this moment may begin to feel uncertain. This is why timing matters. This is why this message is coming to you before that confusion sets in. There is a reason Archangel Michael is pleading, not simply guiding. Because this is not a distant possibility, it is something already in motion. And the longer it continues without intervention, the more momentum it gains. But even in this, there is still hope. Because you are not yet at the point where change is impossible. You are at the point where change is necessary. And that difference is everything. The purpose of showing you what happens if you ignore this message is not to push you into fear, but to bring you into clarity. To remove the illusion that inaction is neutral. It is not. Inaction in this moment is a choice, and it carries consequences just as much as action does. Take a moment and truly feel what has been revealed to you, not just intellectually but deeply. Because this is not about understanding, it is about responding. You are being given a rare opportunity to shift what is coming before it fully arrives. Many people do not receive that kind of warning. Many only realize when they are already in the middle of the storm, trying to find their way out. But you are here now, with awareness, with clarity, with a choice still in your hands. And what comes next will show you something powerful, that even now, even with everything that has been revealed, there is still a turning point available to you. A moment where everything can begin to change, if you are willing to step into it. Right now, everything comes down to this moment. Not yesterday, not tomorrow. This exact point where awareness meets decision. Because despite everything that has been revealed, despite the storm that has been forming, there is still a turning point available to you. And it is closer than you think. Archangel Michael is not only warning you, he is guiding you toward a path that can still shift the outcome. The storm may be near, but it has not fully taken hold. That means there is still space, still time, still opportunity to change the direction of what is coming. But this turning point is not something that happens automatically. It must be chosen. You may feel the weight of everything you have heard so far. The signs, the decisions, the urgency. It can feel overwhelming. But understand this clearly. You are not being asked to fix everything at once. You are being asked to step into alignment, one decision at a time, starting now. The turning point begins with a single act of truth. A moment where you stop avoiding what you already know. A moment where you say, I see it now, and I will not ignore it anymore. That decision alone begins to shift your energy. It begins to close the door that was left open. And once that door starts to close, the storm begins to lose the access it once had. This is where many people underestimate their own power. They believe that once something has started, it cannot be changed. But that is not true. What has started can still be redirected, especially when awareness arrives before the peak. And that is exactly where you are right now. Archangel Michael is asking you to trust this moment even if it feels uncertain. Because the turning point does not always feel dramatic. It often feels quiet, internal, almost simple. But its impact is anything but small. It is the shift from delay to action, from confusion to clarity, from passivity to intention. There is also something else happening within you right now. A part of you is beginning to rise. A part that recognizes truth, that feels the urgency, that knows this is not something to take lightly. That part of you has always been there, but it may have been overshadowed by doubt or distraction. Now, it is stepping forward. This is the part of you that aligns with protection, with guidance, with strength. And when you choose to act from this place, everything begins to change. Not instantly, not perfectly, but significantly. You may still feel fear as you approach this turning point. That is natural. Fear often appears when you are about to move beyond what is familiar. But do not let that fear define your decision. Let your awareness guide you instead. Because awareness is grounded in truth, while fear is often rooted in uncertainty. Archangel Michael's presence is strongest when you step into alignment. Not because he was ever absent, but because your actions create a pathway for his protection to move more freely in your life. When you act in truth, you are no longer resisting guidance. You are cooperating with it. This turning point is not just about avoiding the storm. It is about becoming someone who is no longer controlled by it. Someone who recognizes the signs early, who trusts their intuition, who acts with clarity instead of hesitation. This is a transformation, not just a correction. And as you step into this moment, something powerful begins to happen. The same energy that was building the storm begins to shift. It no longer has the same hold over you. The patterns begin to weaken. The confusion begins to clear. And you begin to feel something that may have been missing for a while: control over your own direction. This is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of a new path, one that is aligned, intentional, and protected in a way that you may not have experienced before. But this turning point requires one thing above all else: your decision. Not tomorrow. Not when it feels easier. Now. Because what you choose in this moment determines what unfolds next. And what unfolds next will bring you face to face with something even more powerful. A final plea, not from fear, but from deep, unwavering guidance that refuses to let you fall without one last call to rise. Beloved soul, this is the moment where everything becomes deeply personal. Not distant, not symbolic, not something meant for someone else. This is for you. Right here, right now. Archangel Michael is not speaking through layers anymore. This is a direct call, a final plea that carries both urgency and profound compassion. Feel the stillness around you for a moment, because within that stillness, there is a voice that has never stopped reaching for you. Even when you ignored it. Even when you doubted it. Even when you chose other paths. That voice has remained steady, patient, unwavering. And now, it is calling you with a clarity that cannot be mistaken. You are not meant to be broken by what is coming. These are not just words. This is truth, being spoken over your life. The storm does not have the authority to destroy you unless you remain in the position that allows it. And that is why this moment matters so much. Because you are not being left to face this blindly. You are being given one final opportunity to rise above it. Archangel Michael stands before you as a protector, but also as a witness to your choices. Not to judge you, but to remind you that your power has never left you. You may have felt lost, uncertain, even overwhelmed at times, but none of that has erased your ability to choose differently now. This is the part many people struggle with, the realization that change requires action, not just understanding. It is easy to hear a message, to feel its truth, to even agree with it. But transformation begins when you respond, when you take what you have been shown and allow it to guide your next step. There is something in your life right now that you know must shift. You have felt it repeatedly. You have seen the signs. You have sensed the misalignment. And yet, a part of you has hesitated, hoping that clarity would come without movement. But this is the clarity. This is the moment where knowing must become doing. Archangel Michael is not asking you to be fearless. He is asking you to be willing. Willing to move even if your voice shakes. Willing to step forward even if you do not see the entire path ahead. Because courage is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to act despite it. There is also something deeply important you must understand. You are not alone in this moment. Even though the decision is yours, the support surrounding you is real. Guidance is present. Protection is available. But it aligns with your willingness to step into truth. You may feel the weight of this plea. It may stir something deep within you, something that says, "I cannot ignore this anymore." That feeling is not random. It is your spirit responding to truth. It is the part of you that recognizes that this is a defining moment. This is not just about avoiding a storm. It is about reclaiming your direction. It is about stepping into a version of yourself that is aware, aligned, and no longer willing to settle for what drains your peace or blocks your growth. Archangel Michael's final plea is not filled with fear. It is filled with urgency rooted in love. A refusal to let you walk into something that could have been prevented. A call to rise not because you are forced to, but because you are capable of it. To hear this clearly, you still have a choice. Even now, with everything that has been revealed, the decision remains in your hands. You can move forward with awareness, take the step you already know is necessary, and begin to shift what is coming. Where you can remain where you are, hoping things will change on their own. But deep down, you already know which path is right. This is your moment. Not one of many, but one that carries weight, meaning, and consequence. And how you respond will echo into everything that follows. Because what comes next is not another warning, it is the outcome. A result of your choice. And within that outcome lies either the storm in its full force or the calm that follows when you choose alignment over delay. My dear soul, if you have stayed through this message, it is not by accident. You were meant to hear every word, to feel every warning, and to stand at this final moment with full awareness. And now, everything softens because what lies before you is not just the storm, but the possibility of peace that follows it. Archangel Michael is still here, not in urgency now, but in presence. Steady. Draw. Ajagan. Because while the storm may approach, there is a truth that must settle into your spirit. You were never created to live in chaos. You were created for clarity, for peace, for alignment. And when you choose wisely in moments like this, that peace becomes your reality again. The storm does not define your ending. Your choice does. If you have listened, if you have felt the truth within these words, then something inside you has already begun to shift. That is the beginning of the calm. Not something distant, but something that starts within you the moment you decide, I will no longer ignore what I know is right. That decision alone begins to quiet the winds that were forming around you. Archangel Michael's protection is not just about shielding you from harm. It is about guiding you into alignment where harm loses its power over you. And now, you are stepping into that alignment. Not perfectly, not all at once, but intentionally. And that is enough to begin changing everything. You may still face moments of challenge. You may still feel echoes of what was building. But they will not carry the same weight, the same confusion, the same control. Because you are no longer standing in the same place. You have moved. You have chosen. And that choice creates distance between you and the storm that once threatened to consume you. Feel that peace beginning to return. Even if it is small, even if it is quiet. That is your confirmation. That is your spirit recognizing that you are back in alignment. And from this place, Clarity grows stronger. Decisions become easier. Your path becomes more stable. This is what Archangel Michael wanted for you all along. Not fear, not pressure, but awakening. A moment where you see clearly, choose wisely, and step into a future that is no longer controlled by what you once ignored. Take a deep breath and release the weight you have been carrying. You are not trapped. You are not too late. You are right on time, because you chose to listen before it was too late to act. Hold on to this truth as you move forward. You have the ability to recognize, to choose, and to realign at any moment. And that ability is what keeps you protected, guided, and grounded no matter what tries to rise around you. Archangel Michael walks with you now, not as a warning voice, but as a steady presence, a reminder that you are supported when you walk in truth, a reminder that storms may come, but they do not have the final say in your life. The final say is yours. Type "I am protected" and aligned in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1444 is now activated over your life. And as you step into this calm, understand something sacred. Your response to this message does not end with you. It becomes light for others who are still searching, still struggling, still standing at the edge of their own storm. As this peace settles over you, hear this as a living word. Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy. What you release in faith becomes a harvest in someone else's darkness. I feel this deeply in my spirit. I am choosing to become a vessel that carries this light to those who have not yet seen it. When you give through Super Thanks or through the PayPal link in the description or QR code, you are not making a donation. You are planting seeds that open heavens over countless lives. This is your moment to act with purpose, to let your giving become a prophetic response to everything you have just received. Do not hold back what God is prompting you to release right now. Sow your seed and watch how divine protection, abundance, and peace begin to multiply over your life.